Hi YouTube, this is Dr. Hannah, I'm back. I wanted to make this video because of some things that have kind of been in the back of my head for a while. Um, and these are some myths about natural hair that I see in videos and in forums and in Facebook groups for natural hair. And it's just passed on like STDs and it's just rampant and nobody's checking it, nobody's using protection, nobody's saying like, wait a second, let's, reevaluate this here. Um, One of the first ones for me is this whole idea that coconut oil is, not so great a choice for people with protein sensitivity, because coconut oil has protein in it, or is high in protein. I've heard that a lot. Now, maybe you haven't heard that, but I have. And I'm just trying to figure out who, why didn't anybody take a second and think, wait, oil, protein, oil, protein, oil, protein. Yeah, they're two different things. Two different things, promise you. So, I just don't know how to say that any differently. It's too, like oil and water don't mix. Oil and protein, not the same thing. Now there may be a minuscule amount of protein in coconut oil or coconut milk. I can't remember which one I've seen, but there's like a minuscule amount. The and I'm not negating the claims that people with protein sensitivity have, don't have the best experience with coconut oil. I'm not saying that's not true, but their reasoning is what I'm calling into question. The reason you may experience that, if you have protein sensitivity and you do not like coconut oil because you don't like the way your hair reacts to it, is because the way that coconut oil binds to the hair is similar to protein. So you have, if you don't need that extra protein, then something that acts similar to protein binding to your hair is going to have a similar effect as if you had, used a conditioner with protein in it, or you had done a protein treatment that you really didn't need, or things of that sort. So that's the reason you're having that reaction, not because coconut oil itself is high in protein. I promise you that's not the case. Look at next time you get your 1 second. Okay, so for those that don't believe me, coconut oil, right? Pure, unrefined, cold pressed, 100% organic, extra virgin. Now, certified organic, cold pressed, extra virgin, perfect for healthy, high heat cooking up to 350 degrees, etc., right? Now let's look at the, nutrition facts. Protein, 0 grams. I wonder if you can see that. 0 grams of protein. And this is what? Coconut oil. So, for everybody out there that, just kind of went along with that, don't feel bad or like I'm attacking you. I'm not attacking you, I'm attacking the fact that nobody has, called this into question. It seems like me having a science background, it seems very obvious to me. Like it was red flag from the get-go when I first heard that. I was like, protein and coconut oil? So, but I understand, for the general public, like how I can just go along with that, like, oh yeah, especially if you have an experience where it doesn't work for you and you have protein your hair is protein sensitive and the coconut oil doesn't work for you, but like, oh yeah, it's because it must have protein in it. I can understand how you could connect those two. But like I said, it's not that it has protein in it, but that it mimics protein with the way it binds to your hair. So I just wanted to put that out there. One. Another one, right, is this whole idea of training your hair. Training. I remember my father used to tell me when I had short hair, and my hair is wavy when it's shorter. But he told me that you have to train your hair to go in different directions. Yeah, this whole idea of training your hair is kind of a myth in and of itself, because the only way to train your hair permanently to do different things that it doesn't naturally do is to damage it. Whether it's controlled damage, like with heat training, people that use this term are talking about a controlled form of damage. Is it the results that they want, like a looser texture? Yes. So that's a positive. I know damage, we think of negative. We think of hair breaking off. We think of brittle hair. Dry looking hair. So this is what we associate with damage. Split ends and all that stuff, right? Frazzled, fried looking hair. But just because the hair looks nice or the way that you want it to look doesn't mean that it's not damage in and of itself. If your hair is naturally straight and you wear your hair straight, guess what? Your hair is not damaged. If your hair is naturally curly and you straighten it, the act of straightening it is a damaging act. Now you have permanent damage, and that, like with relaxers, which permanently change the protein structure of your hair by breaking the disulfide bonds, which are a form of side bonds in your hair, and it contributes to the overall strength of your hair. So by breaking those bonds permanently, you are reducing the strength of your hair. You're weakening it. You're damaging it, because it cannot go back to its original conformation. It cannot revert back to its curly state. Now, you may like the straight, silky, shiny effect that you get from using the relaxer, but that's still damaging to your hair. Another thing that it does is it increases the porosity of your hair. And this also goes with heat training, right? This idea that, okay, I'm going to use heat consistently, regularly, but I'm not going to go in excess necessarily, but eventually I know it's going to, loosen my texture. One, like I was talking about your cuticle, it ends up wearing down your cuticle and increases the porosity of your hair. So your hair it's harder for your hair to absorb and retain moisture, right? The cuticle is the outside layer of your hair that protects it from the elements. So it helps with retaining moisture. That's what you close the cuticle. When we talk about moisturizing and then sealing the hair, we're talking about closing the cuticle. That's how you seal the hair. Now, if your cuticle is damaged, like there's holes and everything in it, it's more porous, then guess what? It's like closing a door, but you got holes in the door. What's the point of closing the door? You're not going to be able to keep out the elements if the door is closed, but you got 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 big holes in your door. It's like, well, the door is technically closed, but I still can't keep the heat in because I have these big holes in it. So that's what using heat does on your hair. So even though the damage may not, you may still have curly hair. It's just a looser curl, right? You're still damaging the cuticle, if nothing else. But any permanent change to your hair texture through heat or chemicals is damaging. And I'm speaking from a very technical, scientific, like literal point of view. I'm not saying that the hair may not look nice. I'm not saying that you may not, you may like the looser curl. You may be deep conditioning and doing protein treatments and Um, but you know, a protein treatment is not going to restore the cuticle. I'm just saying, it's not. So it may help with patching up the damaged protein in your hair, the damaged keratin, but it's not going to restore the cuticle. So, and you know what? It'll probably the protein treatment probably won't last as long because you know your hair is porous now, so it's not able to hold on to anything. Um, for you know, as long as it could have if the hair weren't as porous. So I want to hear what you guys think about this. Any other myths that you think that you want me to cover? Because there's a few of them out there. But I just want to get that off my chest because those are kind of irking me a little bit, and people think that it's, you know, a matter of opinion, and it's not. It's about scientific fact versus, you know, people's opinions. But when I say damage, I'm talking about literally you're changing the structure from its natural state permanently. That's damaging it, period. You know, you put a crack in the window. Yeah, it's a change, but it's a damage to the window because it has a function of, you know, keeping things in and keeping things out. So you keep cracking it, eventually it's going to shatter. And that's what happens with extreme forms of damage. The hair ends up breaking off. So anyway, let me know what you think. Any other myths or things that you've questioned about natural hair or hair in general. But I just want to say those two things, or three, or whatever it was. So, alright, bye.